Sup guys, Mooky here, and I'm back with another part of What If Izuku Had Archer's Powers. This is part 25. In the last part, Izuku was able to repel almost all the villains from the training camp, with the villains failing to capture Bakugo. So it's a big change from the main canon timeline. Also, Izuku collapsed and was almost killed by his own quirk, being impaled by his own swords. However, that said, let's get into this, shall we? Right after the events that happened with the summer camp, basically showing all the students that weren't harmed by the villains, those who were harmed, and everything else. Izuku was the only one who was in true critical condition, almost nearing death's door, actually. However, it's been 3 days since the summer camp incident, as the media basically praises Izuku for his heroism and everything, showing his skills and abilities, able to protect his students and help out pros in such a crisis. However, which also comes with a few other problems, being Izuku's mother and Class 1A and Class 1B's parents, that they're worried about their children. Even though UA isn't painted into a negative light, Izuku saving everyone at the cost of his life does concern them. However, those days, Izuku finally wakes up. As he wakes up in a hospital wondering what happened and why is he here. Soon after, he has memories that the summer camp, and also that he was in intense pain. Tries to sit up pretty quick and thinks of Momo. However, he feels a sharp pain all over his body and thinks, I must have passed out or something. And I guess these are wounds I must have taken from muscular. It has to be. But what happened, I can't fully remember. I just wanted to go and see if Momo was okay, and then after thinking to himself, that's when everyone in Class 1A, excluding Bakugo for reasons I'll get into in a bit, Kaminari comes in and says, "Midoriya, you're awake. Oh, thank God. We were so worried about you, man." As everyone else in Class 1A and Izuku saying, "Everyone, you're okay." And however, he noticed that Bakugo, Momo, Jiro, and Toru weren't there, and says, "Hey, wait, I don't see everyone here. I don't see Yaoyorozu and Kachan. Are they?" As Kirishima says, "Slow down, man. You've just woken up, and I can understand your confusion." As both Ida and Kirishima explain about their situation, about Bakugo being protected by the police for the time being, to make sure that the League of Villains don't try anything, and also and explains the situation with both Momo, Jiro, and Toru, that they're still in the hospital. And he begins feeling less stressed out, but he still is worried about Momo, wanting to check on her. Kaminari basically explained that, "Dude, you were awesome. The media keeps bragging about you and how awesome you were. Not only that, we didn't know you could use guns." As Izuku gets a little bit embarrassed and says, "Well, I didn't think I could either. I just wanted a way to protect and use my quirk more efficiently in some way." As Mina also agreed that that what he did was pretty awesome, and even Tokoyami also agreed as well, and thanks him for saving his life, if anything. As Izuku says that he would do anything to help out his friends, that he couldn't just sit back and do nothing. Soon after, Ida also says, Midoriya, didn't you know about that one of the villains that you fought? As Izuku began realizing, what do you mean? I mean, we did fight a couple of villains, but I don't. It was a blonde man with an artificial eye. Do you know the guy? As Izuku saying, yeah, he was the guy that almost killed Kota, and I had to stop him. So, what do you mean? As everyone in Class 1A began being quiet, as Izuku saying, what happened? Guys, you can tell me. I won't. Is he, as Shoto, again, Midoriya, that guy, he goes by the name Muscular. Turns out he's dead. As Izuku's eyes began wide open, realizing, what? But how did, I mean, as Shoto begins explaining that he died from multiple many organs that were punctured by blades, tons of them, dozens, and soon, when the ambulance came and the police as well, they saw the man pierced by tons of swords and blades, realizing that you were in the same situation, and not only that, they could only produce that you. As Izuku realized that what he did, that he killed Muscular. He killed him with his own hands. As Izuku begins realizing what he'd done, and a face of Muscular pierced by all the weapons that he shot at Muscular with his unlimited blade work shot, realizing that he killed someone. He literally killed someone. He is horrified for what he has done and feels like he's about to vomit as Ida and Kirishima grab a trash can for Izuku. Both of them do, and he lets out and he throws up as much as he can. As the two of them said, "Let it out, Midoriya." I mean, soon after, besides just puking out what left he has in his stomach, he also begins crying, realizing that he's done something that a villain would do, that a vigilante would probably do as well. As he begins thinking that he's done something unforgivable. And soon after, Ochiko and everyone in Class 1A tried to explain for what he did was in self-defense, that he was trying to protect Kota and that he didn't have any other way. As Izuku's saying, that's not true. He had other ways. He had other chances. He probably could have stopped him in one way or another, but instead, he ended up killing him and didn't bat an eye at all, realizing that he's done that he truly can't take back what he's done, and that he's going to live with killing somebody with his own hands, believing maybe he doesn't even deserve to be a hero. However, after saying this, the doctor that examined Izuku basically comes in and tells that he needed to talk to Izuku. As everyone in Class 1A also leaves and doesn't really say anything. As Izuku is still reeling for what he did to Muscular. As the doctor says, Midoriya, I think it's time to, as he removes all the bandages and cast around his body, as he tells him that his arms were completely and utterly repaired entirely. Not only that, all the there was only a couple of scars, but other than that, they're completely healed. He's surprised he's able to do that something like this is able to happen. As Izuku explained that he was imagining and projecting, creating multiple tiny little swords to repair his bone marrow and muscle tissue, and also closing up the wounds as well. It wasn't perfect, but it was good enough to at least move around. As he says, that's surprising. that a quirk like that even exists. And it's also the very reason why you were close to dying as well. As he says this, Izuku is surprised as soon after he brings up a mirror and Izuku, and he says, "Look through this mirror, Midoriya." Izuku soon looks through the mirror and sees that the entire right half of his hair is gone completely white. Not only that, his right eye has gone, well, is now a gold color. And not only that, his skin is almost darkened to a point. Is darkened mostly just on his right arm. Soon after, he realized that many of his classmates soon didn't realize who he was. It's because his appearance changed when he unleashed the full power of his unlimited blade works, and even using his quirk to create many powerful weapons at the same time as well, without even thinking on the consequences, as believing this is still one of the side effects of Izuku using both projection and one for all at the same time. As he says, that's not just the issue here. We see as they look beyond his X-rays and on his muscle and bones. In this timeline, it isn't his ligaments that are taking that degrade. In this timeline, Izuku's nervous system is being severely damaged. As the doctor explained that the more times he uses his quirk past its limit, the more his nervous system takes damage. It's only restricted to his arms and to his fingers. And if he gets surgery now, it can probably be fixed in a while. But getting the surgery would also 3 months of recovery, so he wouldn't even be able to take place in any events during his time in UA, because Izuku decides not to. As the doctor tells him, well, it's your choice. It's not, your nerves aren't in any full danger yet. Heck, I believe Recovery Girl could fix them pretty well, just not to the point where they're back to full strength. But still, try not to push yourself too far again, because doing that also causes your quirk to reject your body. It's the reason why you had swords coming out of your back. Your body was rejecting your quirk, causing self-infliction on yourself, which is pretty rare. Quirk rejection doesn't really come up too much in this day and age, as Izuku thinks that it isn't just projection as him going full strength. It's most likely him using one for all at the same time, causing more and more pain onto his body, which without thinking, projection gets pushed to its limits. As the doctor says, I also know about the incident at the training camp, about you, as Izuku begins thinking that he probably should drop out, or possibly even thinking that the faculty will expel him for doing such a thing. As the doctor says, don't be thinking like that, Midoriya. You still saved a lot of people's lives doing what you did. I can't really condone them, but I can actually say that there are people who really appreciate what you've done. As he gives him a letter, which is from Kota, just like in canon. Soon after, the doctor leaves and begins thinking, did he really do the right thing? Soon after, the doctor leaves and sees that Momo was standing outside. As he tells her that you and your classmates can see him again, and I'm surprised that you're out of bed so soon, as you haven't before. Momo doesn't say anything until the doctor realizes you were waiting for him to wake up. I see. Well, you better go talk to him while you can. As the doctor leaves, and Momo feels shocked, and without saying anything, but just thank you. She enters the door, and Izuku sees her. as he feels relieved that she's okay and that she's not hurt, but soon realizes what he's done and doesn't say anything. Soon after that, Momo doesn't say anything either. As there's silence in the room, Izuku begins saying, "I screwed up. I seriously screwed up. I've done something that can't be taken back. I've taken a life. What does that make me? No better than a villain. A villain who doesn't care what happens." As he begins saying this and just freaking out while also crying at the same time, thinking that maybe it's better if he just leaves UA because of what he's done. As Momo rushes to Izuku and slaps him in the face, and I mean, she slaps him hard, and while tears are running down her face as well, as she tells him, none of that, Izuku. What you've done helped everyone. I know how much it's hurting you, killing you inside for what you did. But that doesn't matter. You've saved more people than cause. You've only took one life. A life that was willing to kill any of us. And I know it's painful believing that you are not a villain. You truly are a hero. After saying this, Izuku is shocked, with more tears coming down his eyes, as he says, "Thank you, Momo. Thank you so much for saying that. I was so ashamed of myself for what I've done." As she begins crying again and hugging him close to her, as she says, "Just let it all out. Just let all that pain all out." As Izuku basically cries with all of his might and just lets it all out. 5 minutes later, Izuku soon reads the letter that he got from Kota. As with Momo still in the room, he soon reads a letter with Kota saying everything that he did like he said in canon, about everything that he's sorry for punching him in the balls, that he's thankful for saving him and for protecting him. He doesn't bring up about what happened to Muscular, but if anything, he's truly thankful and thanks of him as his hero. As Izuku's glad hearing this, as Momo smiles and holds Izuku close again, saying that, "See, people still think of you as a hero." As Izuku smiles with tears running down his eyes again. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. This one, I actually enjoyed making this one quite a bit. I'm still not really good when it comes to romances. I hope I did okay. Please leave a comment below and tell me what you guys think. Also, like and comment and subscribe, which helps out my channel a lot. And hope to see you guys next time. This is Mooky, signing out. Later. Right after the events that happened, Momo soon actually gave him a rundown on what's going to happen next. That she actually put a tracker onto one of the Nomu that was at the summer camp. It almost got her killed, but she's willing to take it if it meant that the heroes could take down the League of Villains once and for all. With that, Izuku was shocked and surprised, telling her, "Are you insane? You could have..." As she says, "I guess it just shows that you're rubbing off on me." As she smiles, Izuku gets a little bit embarrassed. However, she begins wondering if Izuku's going to stay here in the hospital, which she says that it should be something he should do if he did, since they need to do more tests on him. She's worried, especially when she heard that his own quirk tried to kill him. As Izuku says, "I'm fine. I just need some time to think. I'll probably stay one more night, but I may want to but I don't want to head back home just yet. So I haven't decided. As he's soon after, she even tells him about the raid that the heroes are going to raid the villain's hideout. As he's wondering if he should go, but realize that's not a good idea. Since the only reason that Izuku actually went to the raid alongside Shoto, Kirishima, Ida, and Momo was to rescue Bakugo. Other than that, Izuku has no reason to go. So I say. With that, Momo leaves, but before leaving, she gives Izuku a kiss on the cheek, with saying she loves him, and him saying it back as well. And after that, Izuku gets his clothes on, and remembers that the heroes are going to raid the villain's hideout, which is most likely at Communal Ward. So he actually goes there just to see what's going on. Knowing that All Might wouldn't want him there, he decides to just take a vantage point and just see what's happening. After that, the night goes. Everything basically goes kind of similar to that of main canon. All Might facing against All for One, their final battle happening. However, the only difference being Bakugo isn't there, so All Might is able to go all out from the very beginning. And not only that, All for One is able to get everyone from the League of Villains somewhere safe easily. Because of this, Izuku feels like he has no reason to fight back until that very moment. Everyone sees his weakened state, his weakened form, as Izuku begins freaking out, knowing that the symbol of peace, that All Might, the very person that brought hope to everyone, is basically a weak man that doesn't have that famous smile anymore. As Izuku sees this, he's freaking out like crazy and begins using one full cow at least 20%, moving as fast as he can. Some people see this and begin seeing just a green blur as he reaches a good vantage point from one of the buildings from the downtown of Camino, and realize that these things are getting really serious. As All Might, soon after, just like before, All for One tells All Might that Shigaraki is Nana Shimura's grandson, and begins losing hope. After that, All Might feels like all the other heroes begin showing up as well, as Izuku realizes that he can't just sit by and do nothing, and decides to do something with his own. Wanting to attack All for One, he decides but he can't use his broken Excalibur. People will know it's him since it's pretty familiar. He begins thinking of other options until he remembers Geibo with the spear, the red spear that he had with the legendary warrior Kukulin. As he prepares that spear, but thinks of it but breaks it down, makes it easier to use as an arrow, and even begins stockpiling all of the power of One for All into it. But instead of being an explosion, think of it as that of a scatter shot. Tiny spears that can hit as hard as a semi-truck, hitting All for One all at once. As he pulls back on the bowstring, and soon aims up high and shoots the broken weapon in the air. As it begins glowing red, the red spear arrow soon lands where All for One is, and soon disperse tiny little spears that as stab All For One that almost feel like, once again, feel like 100 semi-trucks smashing into him with this much force. As All For One begins saying, "All Might, what ally you know has a quirk like this? I never seen such power before." As All Might begins looking, who shot that? As Izuku is still pretty far away, that not even All Might can see him or anyone else either, began wondering who would shoot, who would take a hit like, who would land a hit like that. As Izuku leaves, he begins heading back down to the main streets. As All Might realized that he's not alone, that even certain people out there who are willing to help him, not just the heroes, not just his mentor, Gran Torino, but everyone else, still believe in the symbol of peace, even now. As just like before, he has his second win and defeats All For One with his United States of Smash, just like in canon, with All Might taking his last stand and the embers of One For All fading from his body. As Izuku realized that he can't head back home, or he can't head to the hospital since he's already been discharged. Realizing and wondering, he could go to Bakugo's, but thinking that Kachan probably wouldn't even want him to be there. So there's only one option left. He heads to a massive mansion, basically press one of the buttons on the gate, and says, and a speaker saying, "How may I help you, sir?" As Izuku saying hi, as the butler realized that it's Izuku, Momo's boyfriend, and soon lets him in. As Momo hears that Izuku is here, she begins wondering why is he here, and says, "You think I could stay here for the night? Just for tonight, and I'll be out of your way." As Momo basically agrees, but she tells him that he's going to need to explain everything when he wakes up in the morning. As Izuku says, "Deal." The butler leads him to one of the guest bedrooms, and actually flopped on the bed for a bit, realizing that he just did some vigilante work, and without permission, just actually shot at one of the symbol of chaos. As Momo opens the door and comes in, wondering on what Izuku just did. As he explains everything, as he tells her that he went to communal ward, seen everything, and soon after, the sun begins to rise. As Izuku, as tons of people began calling Izuku, telling him to turn on his phone. And the same thing also goes with Momo, showing All Might standing triumphantly again, as All For One being taken away, as he points to the camera and says, "Now it's your turn." As many people began thinking, as just like before, many people began thinking that it's a declaration of war towards the League of Villains. As Momo is shocked, surprised, and even glad that All Might's still alive. As Izuku begins crying, realizing that he's passed the torch to him. Momo comforts Izuku, but doesn't know why Izuku's crying, and once again is worried for her boyfriend once again. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please tell me what you guys think in the comments below, and I would love to hear them. Also, I don't know if I'm going to continue this or not. It's not that I'm suffering from writer's block. It's more that I don't want the story to be too long. but I still enjoy doing it at any rate. Well, with that said, this is Leon Mooky, signing out. Later.